So we got some pretty big interest in Bleach news, of what I would consider big anyway, because everyone's question on their mind with the Bleach anime right now is, where is it currently? We've had pretty much over a year with no real news or anything, really. And today with me, I have, as you may have heard of him before, Roe. We did a video saying, will the Bleach anime be good? And we did a collaboration on that. If you want to just give yourself a little hello there, buddy.
Hello.
Okay, yeah, that's his introduction. And today he will be helping me and helping you guys kind of maybe understand the animation process a little bit more better than maybe I could, and hopefully we'll learn something together through any kind of discussion in that regard, because there's many different variables in this kind of situations where it is a case-by-case basis. So where is the Bleach anime production currently at the moment? Well, it seems to me we're still in the pre-production phase. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I definitely agree with that. It both makes sense considering one could expect the anime to come out in 2022. In that case, I wouldn't necessarily expect the production to have started. We'll get more into that later.
Yeah, so currently at the moment, Kubo hit me up on the old text message. You know, we got that line added and he hit me with the sauce, boys. He basically said something along the lines of this. That yes, he has been posting pictures of his dog, and yes, it is relevant because unfortunately the translation goes into what we know about the Bleach anime. So yes, he's been taking pictures of his dog, but he's been checking the settings and script for the Millennium Blood War anime and discussing plans for the original art exposition preview day. I don't think that has anything relevant towards the anime. Discussing the original art exposition for the preview day, I think, can be insinuated as it is. I think it's just nothing to do with the anime. Yeah. But in parts of the anime, been checking the settings, which I think you had to double check earlier, of what the settings actually means, and the script for the Millennium Blood War arc. So this tells me, as you said to me earlier, that this is the end of the pre-production phase, going into production.
Yes, so he mentioned in Japanese the word that would be directly translated as settings, which is sete. It's used in several parts of the pre-production phase, where it could refer to either the art designs or even the color design. That kanji, you can find it in several parts of the production. So basically what he's saying is that he's currently in the process of looking over those and the script and making sure they're correct in his vision.
Now, the problem is with this, and why I don't think it's as cut and dry, and maybe Roe will agree with me on this, is that we don't actually know specifically what part of the script he's been working on. Has it been all of it? Has it been a specific portion? Or is it something that has been for, 30, 60 episodes in? And that is important because when it comes to long series, as far as I'm aware, such as My Hero or even Black Clover, they never really leave the pre-production stage. And do you want to just address that a little bit?
Yeah, because long-running anime and even anime like My Hero, which are seasonal but comes out every year without really missing a year, they have to constantly keep working on the next stuff. It's the same with a long-running anime. Of course, they can't stop working on the pre-production. They can't stop writing scripts because then the production itself would catch up to the pre-production. So in Bleach's case, we can assume it's not going to be a one-core show. That wouldn't really get that far into it. Yeah.
Very good news.
Exactly. And they'll have to keep working on the pre-production, I'd assume, if it's going to be more than say 25 episodes, if it's going to be over 30 in one go, or we don't know the details of it yet. But either way, the pre-production could be lasting for quite a while into the series, the script writing and such.
Yeah, because my first initial thought of is, okay, well, one, I think it's good that Kubo's, if not writing the script, at least supervising it, which is good. He's getting involved. He's discussing the settings, which you said can go towards character design art or art in general, or how it's going to be displayed. That's going to be in Kubo's vision, which is good because obviously there's a lot he wanted to implement. So I think that's good news. I think as well, as you said, a reason why pre-production could go on for as long as it is because, there's a lot to pre-plan. Maybe that's for the future. Maybe that's for changing little bits in the story or adding bits into the story of why it could take so long. Or it could be being produced, but they're still, but Kubo's still writing stuff for later on. There's a lot of different variables. I'm obviously not going to agree with the latter. I still generally believe that, we're still in the early stages. Another question I spoke to you earlier about was, in order to discuss these things such as scripts and settings, do you have a director already at hand now at this point in the game?
Yes. You'd have a director and you'd have a series composer, the one that does the series composition. So like the director and the series composer would be working on like looking at the manga content and then working on what is the main storyline, like how are we going to write this, what are we going to include, and they'd be working on just writing the original script that's later going to be divided into episodes by either the series composer himself or the rest of the team of writers. And after the scripts are done, they'll be handed out to the storyboarders or the episode directors, and that's like when you're really close to getting the stuff going. You'd also, at the same time as the script process is being done, there's like other stuff going on as well. There's the character design, so you'd have the character designer. That would most likely have been decided by then because they're working on the script, and usually you'd have other design artists working on all the stuff at the same time as the script writing is going on. The word settings that was used by Kubo, sete, is used in, for example, as I mentioned earlier, art designs. And specifically art designs, that has a lot to do with the locations that will appear in the anime. So we already know that there's multiple locations from what we've seen in the manga. So they have to do like
Soul Society, stuff like that, how it's changed and the differences with that, I assume, right?
Yeah. And it's like the you can look at it like a blueprint of the locations, like what are the sizes here, and like they put something in to get the right perspective of the size, like a character or something standing in the art design. So when the key animators and like the ones that do the layouts, for example, of the scene, can get an idea of like how does this environment feel, how am I going to place this stuff. So all these things has to be handled in the pre-production, and usually that would happen around the same time as the script is being created. So you'd have a lot of staff members involved already at the pre-production phase.
Yeah, with the amount of like characters that are in there, and especially the abilities that these characters can do, I think maybe, talking about settings and environments and how things will be displayed is very important to, like the whole meteorites, the destruction of UR box, like abilities, the grandiose scale of these repercussions of some of the characters is probably very important when you get an overall feel of being immersed in that story when watching it. So in hindsight, it's something you don't really think about as an anime watcher. You just kind of expect it, but when you actually hear about it, you're like, actually, that makes sense. Like, this is actually an important aspect to having a show, is the grandioso scale of how things actually are compared to its characters.
And there's a lot of design work that goes into actually getting the pre-production phase done, and especially in a series like Bleach, where you have all these intricate designs like the sunpunk tour, the outfits, the different people. As James already mentioned, there's like a lot of characters, and especially in the Thousand Year Blood War arc, and there's so many things that goes into this. And other than just that in the design, there's also like deciding the color palette, so the color design, like what tone are we going for here. So there's so many different aspects that goes into the pre-production phase.
Yeah, and as I said, I'm glad that Kubo is involved with that, because it's going to be, again, in his vision and he's working closely with it. I think another important aspect into this, which I think is going to worry most people, from your experience, considering a pre-production has been this long. I mean, there's going to be exceptions to the rule, like Dragon Ball, for example. Dragon Ball Super was 2 months, and we could see the fruits of that labor of a 2-month pre-production go to what we got, early Dragon Ball. Those are the exceptions to the rule. In your experience through the anime industry, or what you've witnessed, is a pre-production like this, in your eyes, a good thing or a bad thing? And the reason why I say that is, heads can be turned when you say, oh, a pre-production has been going on for this long, there must be an issue, right, if it's taken this long. Or if it's too short, then it's like, oh, they're rushing it. Is a longer pre-production better than your average pre-production?
The answer to this question is not really that clear cut. Like it could, like if the pre-production is really long, it could indicate problems with the production, or if it's very short, it could indicate problems. So it's not like something you could just give an easy yes or no answer to. However, like in this case, it's hard to say exactly like how long the core pre-production has been going on for the Thousand Year Blood War arc, because the anime has been greenlit for a really long time. Like we heard rumblings about it like way before even the announcement was made.
Yeah, 2019.
You could say that like they had to wait to start the pre-production maybe because they didn't have any clear staff members. They had to wait for them to finish other stuff, or like the studio that's doing it would be too busy, so yeah, let's just wait a little bit so we have everything clear, right? But having a pre-production going on for more time than necessary shouldn't really be an issue. Like the longer the pre-production, the better. But you can't look at a long pre-production and just assume that just because it had a long pre-production, it's going to be great, right?
Do you know anything from the top of your head that's like, the length of time between a normal anime without its manga artist being involved compared to a pre-production with its manga artist involved? Is there a correlation of a longer pre-production when a mangaka is involved, or is it usually the same?
It's actually the opposite.
Oh, okay.
With original anime in particular.
Yeah, original.
Yeah. It's kind of different there, of course. Then the pre-production would be way longer. And in the case of if the mangaka is not involved, but it's still like adapted from a manga, you'd have like, if with Kuba involved here, you'd probably maybe get through it either faster or it's probably the same. It really depends.
But you gotta think of all the content that comes with it, right? It's like, we're not talking about like a story arc here. Like if Hirokoshi wanted to do like, UA's 1A versus 2B, right? Like classes, and he's doing the arc on that, and he's talking to Bones about it. That's one arc. That's not as big as obviously the Thousand Year Blood War arc. You've got over 200 chapters worth of content here, and plus maybe more, right? Because of the illness and whatnot. So that's where I'm starting to think, is the context justifiable for why it would take longer than your average maybe seasonal arc at that?
Absolutely, I'd say that, especially considering we know the contents of the Thousand Year Blood War arc, and we know that there's a ton of new characters, there's many different locations, and it's a really long arc and would require a ton of episodes. So you'd think that they have a lot of stuff to design and get right, like stuff they have to plan ahead. And for example, in the case of light novels, when you think about it, light novels require a longer pre-production most of the time because you don't have the visuals for everything, right? But in a manga format, and especially with the manga creator helping out a bit himself, the manga creator can of course like look over the stuff and make sure that the vision is correct, so the staff members don't have to guess all the time. But that can also kind of limit them as well, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, because it's difficult to get all the details right if you're working on your own.
So to bring it back onto what Kubo said about, at this current time, he's been checking the settings and script. It seems like, again, past tense. That could be episodes in front. It could be right now. It could be like early pre-production. What we know at this current moment in time is that it is very close to the production stage. We are expecting an announcement. I mean, Bleach's announcement is not Bleach's announcement, but Bleach's anniversary is in August. I think I already know your answer, but I'll ask it anyway because I know my answer. Do you think we'll get a Bleach PV or a Bleach key visual in August at all?
I think that a PV is unlikely. Maybe at best a teaser, just seeing any kind of moving visual, but I think a key visual is the most likely if we get anything at all.
What is your possibility on it? Because I'm saying no, I don't think we'll get anything like that, but that's just my pessimistic view on it, considering where we are at the stage we are at now.
I think I'll be the optimist for you there and say that with the pre-production, like we know now that they've been working on the design process and all that, so they might already have a good idea of how is this product going to look. So even though they might not have gotten to the point where they can produce a animated PV, they might still have the character designs down, and they've worked on a key visual just to have a representation of what they themselves need to know what's gonna look like. Yeah.
I mean, sure. Look, if you guys want to hope for a key visual in August, go for it. I'm putting all my guns in Jump Festa. I think that's where like Bleach is really going to shine at Jump Festa. I think that's where we get a lot of promotion, a lot of hype, a lot of build up towards it. But I just think we're just going to get some casual news in August. And honestly, I wouldn't put your fists up in the air of you know, fucking victory. You know, just be a little bit more patient. We know where we are around about in terms of like the production, which is cool. And hopefully Roe is giving you some good kind of positivity to think about where we are looking at this current moment in time. I'm going to end it off there because obviously we don't want to get too much down the rabbit hole of where we are at the moment, but I would take this as a good sign. What about you, Roe? Do you think that this is a good sign? Are you confident in this production, do you think?
So far, I'm pretty confident in this production. Of course, we don't have that many details to go off yet. However, you can tell that they're spending time wisely and even having Kubo to look over it. We haven't even just talked about the positive aspects of that. Like remembering back on the Bleach days.
I would like to think that is like a given, right? Like if a mangaka is so much involved, like if it's bad, then it's like that's even more a kick in the teeth. But the fact that a mangaka is involved and how precise Kubo is with his own work as well. I mean, I think me and you spoke not long ago about how like when he was watching the Bound arc, he was getting sick to his stomach because of how much his characters weren't acting like his character, so he got involved within the studio or the production and overlooked it. So he's very protective of his series, and I'm glad that he is getting involved, and I think it will do good because it tells me, and I don't know about you, it tells me that the producers care about his input, they care about what he has to say, they care about what he wants to add and what he wants to do, and it seems like he has control. And that's really all you can ask as a fan of a series is control. You know, we're not going to get some Promised Neverland season 2. So there has been a track record of mangaka that have worked on their anime adaptations has usually turned out pretty good. There is little to no, I don't think, case study of a mangaka working on their anime production and actually being worse than expected it to be. Yeah, the only adaptations I can think were not that good is ones that weren't supervised correctly by the author. Yeah, that's my thoughts. Have you got anything else to say, or are you golden?
I'm golden.
Right, tell me what you guys think in the comment section down below. Again, if you want to throw any more questions to Roe or myself, please, again, comment section down below. Hopefully we can do this again if you like this. I'm going to catch you guys later. You guys, of course, have this fine day in hands. And as always, people, peace out.